transformation rarely arrives the way we imagine it. It doesn't knock politely or send a warning. It arrives uninvited, often slipping into your life through heartbreak, burnout, confusion, or a strange sense that something about your life feels off. Like you're playing a role in a movie that no longer fits. You might start waking up at 3 a.m., your heart racing with questions that have no name. You might find yourself staring at the ceiling, wondering why the things that used to excite you now feel empty. Friends drift, laughter fades, the world begins to blur. But this unraveling, it's not chaos, it's the sacred undoing. The slow and silent process of your old self dissolving to make way for something ancient, wild, and deeply true. A you that remembers. A you that feels more real, even if you can't yet name it. You're not going crazy. You're not weak. You're not broken. You're being initiated into a deeper dimension of yourself, of reality, of existence itself. Most people miss this moment. They numb it, fight it, or try to fix it. But you, something in you stayed curious. Something in you leaned in. And that is why you're here. Because beneath the confusion, beneath the grief, beneath the aching questions that keep you up at night, there are signs, subtle, hidden, but unmistakably divine. On this journey with Wisdom Path, we will uncover 7 hidden signs that you're not falling apart. You're waking up. These signs are often misunderstood. Sometimes they look like failure. Sometimes they feel like madness. But in truth, they are sacred markers. Markers that your soul is remembering. So stay with me. Because once you begin to see these signs for what they are, your life will never look the same again. Not because everything changes around you, but because something irreversible awakens within you. And now, let us begin. One, your life begins to collapse beautifully. It doesn't always come with warning signs. It just starts happening. One day, things that once felt solid begin to dissolve. The job that defined you suddenly feels unbearable. The relationship that once gave you comfort begins to crack. The routines that shaped your sense of safety begin to feel suffocating. This is not random. It is an intelligent unraveling. Everything that was built on fear, on ego, on borrowed dreams begins to fall away. What seems like destruction is actually creation in disguise. Like a wildfire clearing the dead wood, so new life can emerge. Your soul is burning away what no longer serves your becoming. And yes, it hurts. Not because you are losing something essential, but because you're being asked to release what you were never truly meant to hold on to. False identities, limiting beliefs, roles you played to survive. In this space of collapse, you might feel empty, hollow, exposed. But look closely. That emptiness isn't a void. It's a womb, a sacred space where your real self can be reborn. You begin to notice moments of stillness within the chaos, as if some deeper part of you has been expecting this all along. A quiet knowing surfaces that what you're losing is not a punishment, but a gift. And though the world around you may not understand your shift, and though the structures of your old life may crumble beneath your feet, what rises in its place is real. Raw, unshakable. This is the sacred breakdown, the fertile ashes of ego, the necessary ending before the soul begins. And as the dust settles, you will see it clearly. Your life wasn't falling apart, it was falling into place. But this collapse is only the beginning, because what comes next will change how you see everything. 2. You start feeling disconnected from everyone, yet more connected than ever. It begins subtly. A conversation that once felt engaging now drains you. A night out with friends leaves you empty instead of energized. You start feeling like an outsider in rooms you used to belong to. You're not becoming cold, you're becoming clear. Your energy is recalibrating. Your nervous system is refining its filters. You begin to crave silence over stimulation, depth over noise. You realize that proximity doesn't equal connection. You might feel guilt for pulling away. You might feel confused about your own withdrawal, but this isn't isolation. It's evolution. You're detaching from the superficial so you can tune into the sacred. And something beautiful starts to happen. As you disconnect from what no longer aligns, a deeper connection awakens, not just with people, but with life itself. You find comfort in solitude. You feel awe staring at the sky. You sense a presence in the wind, in water, in your breath. Music moves you to tears. Trees seem to whisper truths you've always known. You're no longer looking for validation. You're listening for resonance. You begin to recognize energy over appearances, intention over presentation. You seek fewer conversations, but more real ones. And you notice a strange kind of ache in your heart. Not from loneliness, but from longing. Longing for a connection that words can't satisfy. You are tuning in to your soul's frequency, and like any rare frequency, it takes time for others to hear it. But when they do, when you finally meet those who carry the same current in their hearts, you'll know, because it will feel like home. This is not the end of connection. It is the beginning of communion. And what comes next will remind you why your soul chose this path in the first place. 3. You begin to question everything you were taught to believe. It begins like a whisper, an unease in the background of your thoughts. Something in you starts to sense that the world you were handed, the rules, the beliefs, the structures, isn't the whole picture. You find yourself staring at the systems that raised you, not with contempt, but with a quiet curiosity. The religion that once gave you comfort now feels like it's missing something essential. The education you received starts to resemble programming more than awakening. The social narratives you were taught to strive for, money, status, perfection, begin to feel hollow, not because you're bitter, not because you're lost, but because you're beginning to remember. Spiritual awakening often begins with this disillusionment. The veil starts to lift, and what once felt sacred now feels scripted. You begin to see how much of your identity was built on borrowed truth, from family, from culture, from a society designed to keep you in line. This unraveling is painful, but it is holy. You are not rejecting truth. You are refining it. And in the quiet between what you were told and what you now feel, a new voice rises. It's your inner knowing, the compass you were born with but taught to ignore. That voice begins to guide you away from blind belief and toward embodied wisdom. You start to ask deeper questions, not to rebel, but to remember. What is real? What is mine? What resonates with the deepest part of my being? It's not about finding new answers. It's about being willing to live inside better questions. This is spiritual maturity, when you stop outsourcing truth to authority and begin cultivating direct experience. And while others may see you as difficult, rebellious, or confused, you are simply in the sacred in-between, between who you were told to be and who you actually are. And soon, that voice inside you, the one you've just begun to trust, will lead you to realms of reality you never knew existed. But first, time itself must begin to shift. Here's the continuation of your beautifully polished script, maintaining all your original words and the formatting style we've established. 4. Time starts acting strangely. Your days become liquid. Mornings feel like lifetimes. Afternoons pass in a flash. Sometimes you lose hours in silence, staring at nothing, lost in thought or presence. Time no longer behaves. And it's not just your schedule that's changing. It's your relationship to time itself. Linear time, the ticking clock, the deadlines, the forward motion, is starting to dissolve. Your consciousness is slipping beyond the construct. You begin to exist in pockets of stillness where time folds, where you sense eternity in a single breath. This is not distraction. This is expansion. You are experiencing the collapse of artificial time. Because the soul does not live on a clock. It lives in rhythm, in cycles, in spirals. It moves with the moon, with energy, with the seasons of becoming. And as your awareness deepens, you begin to perceive that time is not a ruler, but a mirror. It reflects your state of being. When you are anxious, time speeds. When you are present, it slows. When you are in alignment, time disappears altogether. And then the synchronicities begin. You think of a person, and they call. You ask a question, and see the answer on a billboard. You feel drawn to a place, and suddenly you're there. These are not coincidences, they are confirmations. Time is no longer something you obey. It becomes something you collaborate with. And this is where true awakening begins to crack through the mundane. Because as time bends around your energy, you begin to see the architecture behind the scenes, the divine choreography, the invisible design. Your soul has always known this way of being. It's just that now, you're finally remembering how to move in it. And the deeper you go, the more you'll begin to realize synchronicity is the language of alignment. And soon, the universe will begin to speak to you more clearly than ever before. 5. You feel intense emotions out of nowhere. You're sitting at a red light and suddenly tears well up. You're walking past a stranger and feel a flood of compassion so strong it steals your breath. A song you've heard 100 times now moves you to your core. These aren't mood swings. They're soul tides. What you're feeling is not just yours. It's everything you've never had the space or the consciousness to feel before. Your emotional body is no longer numb. It's no longer willing to suppress. You are being rewired to feel fully. This depth of feeling might seem irrational, but it is sacred. Joy that comes without a reason. Grief that arrives in the middle of a quiet afternoon. Love so deep it breaks you open when no one else is even in the room. This is the undoing of emotional amnesia, the years, perhaps lifetimes, of buried sorrow, fear, wonder, awe, anger, ecstasy, all surfacing, not to punish you, but to liberate you. Because in awakening, nothing is left behind, not even the feelings you swore you'd never revisit. Your soul wants you whole, and wholeness requires the full range of emotion, not just the convenient ones. You begin to understand that emotion is not a weakness to be managed. It's a portal, a teacher, a language from the deeper self. And it doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be felt. You don't need to know where the tears come from. You only need to honor that they are part of your resurrection. This emotional sensitivity can feel like too much for the old version of you. But for the awakened self, it is home. And the more you allow this flow, the more you realize you're not breaking down, you're breaking open. But as your emotional body softens, another layer of awakening begins to stir, this time in the temple of your physical body. 6. Your body starts speaking louder than ever. Your chest feels heavy without explanation. Your sleep shifts. Food tastes different. You're more sensitive to noise, to people, to certain places. Sometimes you feel exhausted for no reason. Other times you're buzzing with energy like electricity is running through your spine. Doctors may find nothing wrong, but your soul knows something is moving. This is not illness, it is initiation. Spiritual awakening doesn't just live in the mind or heart, it lives in the body, because the body is not just a vehicle, it's a vessel, and when your consciousness begins to rise, your body must recalibrate to hold it. You may feel tension in old places, strange aches, pressure in the crown or third eye, vibrations, or sudden warmth in the hands or feet. You may even feel chills during meditation, or bursts of heat during silence. These are not random symptoms, they are energetic signals. Your nervous system is adapting to higher frequencies. Your cells are shedding old trauma. Your organs are detoxing emotional residue that's been stored for years. And while the mind may want answers, the body asks for presence. Not analysis, but listening. Every signal it sends is a message. Slow down, rest more, eat lighter, move intuitively, breathe deeper, touch the earth. You are not falling apart, you are being rebuilt. This is somatic awakening, a process where the physical form aligns with the soul's truth. It's uncomfortable, it's strange, but it is sacred beyond words. And as your body adjusts, you'll begin to feel a new intelligence moving through you. Ancient, primal, beyond logic, the intelligence of spirit, housed in your flesh. Soon, you'll begin to notice that your body responds instantly to alignment or misalignment, that your intuition speaks not just through dreams, but through symptoms. Your body becomes a compass, and the deeper you listen, the more you realize. The next evolution of you won't just be felt, it will be embodied. But before embodiment becomes power, it begins as a whisper, a calling. 7. You feel a calling you can't explain. There's a moment, often quiet, sometimes sudden, when something within you begins to stir, a whisper that doesn't come from your mind, but from somewhere deeper. You can't trace its origin, but you can feel it. A magnetic pull towards something you don't fully understand yet. This calling doesn't arrive with clear instructions. It doesn't present itself with logic or convenience. In fact, it often disrupts your plans, interrupts your routines, and challenges everything you thought you wanted. And yet, it feels more real than anything you've ever known. It might come in the form of a dream you can't shake, a place you've never been but somehow miss, a desire to create something, share something, become something, but you don't yet know what. You're not imagining it. This isn't escapism, it's remembrance. Your soul is beginning to remember what it came here for. Before this life, before the noise of the world, before the conditioning, you made an agreement, a soul contract, a promise to evolve, to serve, to wake up. And now, that memory is rising like smoke through the cracks of your old identity. And though it makes no sense to the rational mind, you feel it in your bones. You're being summoned, not by a voice outside of you, but by the essence within you. This is not a call to fame, power, or comfort. It's a call to purpose. You may try to ignore it. You may try to drown it in busyness, in logic, in what's familiar. But the calling doesn't go away. It grows louder in stillness. It grows stronger in solitude. And it speaks a language that only your soul understands. You begin to notice signs, subtle at first, repeating numbers, random conversations, a book that falls off the shelf, a song that hits too deeply, a stranger who says the exact words you needed to hear. These aren't coincidences, they're confirmations. You were never meant to sleepwalk through this life. You were never meant to follow a path made by someone else's fear. The longing you feel, It's not a problem to be fixed. It's a map. And when you start walking that path, even just one trembling step, the universe begins to move with you. Not because the path is easy, but because it's true. You don't need to know where it leads. You only need to say yes to the pull, to the mystery, to the reason your soul came here in the first place. Because once you say yes to that calling, you'll never be the same again. If you recognized even just one of these signs, you're not crazy. You're not broken. You're awakening. You're being rewritten from the inside out. And yes, it can feel lonely, but you are not alone. There is a path, ancient, sacred, hidden in plain sight. You are walking it now. And if this video found you, it's not an accident. Subscribe to Wisdom Path. Join this growing collective of souls remembering who they are. We go deep. We go real. We go beyond the veil. Because your awakening is just beginning. And the next chapter is waiting.